Hi everybody, Michael Austin here at VCTV, and we have the pleasure tonight of welcoming Daniel Scott from IMBA to Valemount. Daniel is one of the mountain bike trail consultants here with the International Mountain Biking Association, and he's been in town for about a week looking at what we have here in terms of a potential mountain biking destination. Welcome to Valemount.
Thank you, Mike. My pleasure. IMBA is a nonprofit organization whose primary focus is advocacy for the sport of mountain biking throughout the world. How it pertains to our mission basically is to preserve, enhance, and create mountain bike or trail opportunities for mountain bikers throughout the world. And in my case, I work for the Canadian office, so my primary focus is doing that for Canada.
Okay. Can you explain why we need you? What do we get? What's the package?
What's the package?
Yeah.
So how IMBA, or how the Trail Solutions program operates, is basically I've been harnessing or honing my skill set with how to develop sustainable trails.
Okay.
Andreas is designed, and there is Andreas's trail up on the apron of Mount McCurdy as it stands, and it's a very technical, steep, kind of limited in scope trail. That being said, rode it as an advanced rider, people will have a blast on it. However, right now it sees a very minimal amount of use. The whole purpose, or a large part of the purpose of this project, is to develop a destination where people from outside of town can come in and experience the mountain biking and the terrain that Valemount has to offer. That being successful, we're going to see a much higher use of the trail system, and trails that aren't necessarily aligned or designed with sustainability or maximum sustainability in mind will eventually degrade and then no longer be fun. And ultimately what we're going for is a fun factor. So in the past I've worked on a whole bunch of different kinds of projects, and certainly I've worked in the past in various parts in Western Canada especially, where we're working with foresters. Their knowledge and skill set as it relates to the woods like you're talking about is invaluable. One of the ways that we can offset the cost of bringing in the professional builders is to do a lot of that initial field work with people whose jobs it is to deal with it. So if it's related to corridor clearing, if we're developing a new trail and we need to get in there and do the tread work, before we do that we need to do a lot of tree removal. So that's a great opportunity for the kind of the local community to come in, those who have the skill set who are looking for some potential work to do exactly that. Because when you're bringing in the pro builders, they charge by the hour typically, or by the linear meter in some case, and the more you can do with local help, that means you're going to reduce your ultimate costs when you bring in outside help. So, you know, for them to float in their machines, for them to do all that kind of stuff, we'll get them doing what they do best, and get the other people like the foresters and whatnot doing what they do best, and then, you know, between the two of them have a good product in the end. So what do you want first, the good news or the bad news?
Let's go with the bad news first.
The bad news first? Okay, so the bad news is you are dealing with some of the terrain because we're dealing with the apron of Mount McCurdy primarily. It does wrap around and does get into some north-facing slopes, okay, as well as we get into higher elevations. Now there is a couple of bands of primarily black spruce forest, which I mentioned last night in the village council meeting.
Why is that an issue?
They typically like very moist soils, peaty soils, which makes digging and getting below that initial organic peaty soil that typically retains a lot of water and into a mineral-based soil that's going to have a harder surface and a more durable surface for the final trail tread, more challenging. Some of the opportunities, or a lot of the opportunities, it's got beautiful proximity to the village. You can basically ride from a lot of the downtown amenities directly up to the apron of McCurdy, what, 5-10 minutes maybe at most, as well as the amount of elevation. I mean, the fact that you can gain so much elevation in such a short period of time is fantastic. Having Swift Creek, people are intrinsically drawn to water and water features. That old growth management area, more to the north or the northeast side of Swift Creek, stunning. A fair amount of rock that one can play with, and
that's a good thing.
Oh, anytime you get rock in the terrain, it gives you opportunities to create features. You know, it's kind of like putting the mountain in mountain biking, right? People bring that in, and of course, on that note, looking and playing with the idea of gaining more elevation, and possibly starting to play with the concept of the subalpine and alpine opportunities that McCurdy could also offer a long-term vision for this system to really give you that full experience of going from an alpine terrain to a sub-alpine terrain into kind of that initial forest band, then down through the fir stands, then down through the cedar stands, across Swift Creek, and then back into town across these beautiful kind of grassland meadow, pine, balsam fir forest. It's quite a diverse experience, all in one trail system.
We're going to do a part 2 to this interview, absolutely. And thanks to Andreas Tony for kind of spearheading this and taking the time and making the effort to write the grant. Thanks to the Columbia Basin Trust for accepting that application and providing the funding for this, because I mean, with the economic situation here, due to a number of factors, we're certainly looking for things, and this seems like a really viable alternative.